J-Lo. Affleck ditched for being grumpy. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez are an example of two narcissists colliding. I've explained elsewhere why they are narcissists. And theirs is an example of where there hasn't been narcissistic cementation, but rather the turbulent collision that takes place when two narcissists come together. Initially, there isn't a problem. They're both looking to seduce the other, which means that they are basically pleasant to one another. That pleasantness is interpreted by the other narcissist as that person coming under control. Thus, they both provide one another with positive fuel. That's good. They're both fun to one another, kind to one another, pleasant to one another. They're getting down and getting jiggy with it. All of that demonstrates that they're coming under control. Thus, Affleck subconsciously believes that she is coming under control to him, and his own behavior in seducing her signifies to Lopez that he is coming under her control. Thus, this is why two narcissists can come together in the first place. They both provide fuel by way of response, flattering one another, the oohs and the ahs when they're making the beast with two backs, buying one another gifts, talking favourably about one another in the media. However, as time progresses, the fuel becomes stale, and they will invariably, as a consequence of having two oversized egos in the same household, start to affect one another's need for control, which means that the sustained devaluation occurs. Let's take, for example, that Affleck's behaviour results in him entering sustained devaluation from Jennifer Lopez first. Therefore, she starts to criticise him, perhaps gives him a silent treatment, shouts at him, berates him for doing something. Her behaviour then towards him provides him with fuel, but of course threatens his need for control. Thus, she then triggers her own devaluation. So he responds by ignoring her, that he fights back and argues with her. His response provides her with fuel, but also threatens her need for control. So she then fights back against him. And they both have sustained devaluations in relation to one another. During that period, there will be instances whereby they will believe that they've both got control over one another. So, for example, let us suggest that J-Lo has an ignition of fiery Latina, heated fury. So she gives Affleck a dressing down. He thinks, fuck this shit, I'm going to go and see what Matt Damon's up to, and walks out of the house. She perceives that he's run away, that he has retreated from her dressing down, giving her a sense of control. He believes that he has asserted control subconsciously because he's thought, I'm not putting up with the claptrap that she's spouting. Thus, they both believe that they've got control over the other, her directly, him by withdrawal. He then reappears later. The reset button has been pressed, owing to compartmentalization, and it may well be the case that a false apology is issued for having shouted, and they have a cuddle and everything's all right again, until the next devaluing behaviour appears. And thus they get into that protracted, sustained period of devaluation. But then it would appear that Jennifer Lopez has disengaged from Affleck, the suggestion being that it's to do with his intolerable grumpiness. Judith Woods, who writes in The Telegraph, states, celebrities. They live in a different world, don't they? On a higher net worth plane. What have A-list movie stars got to worry about from the old my wallet's too small for my $50 bills and my diamond shoes are too tight routine? It turns out that they suffer from exactly the same interpersonal troubles as the rest of us. In fact, the average man can learn a lot from those who are hugely successful. I imagine the scenario. A regular A-list actor-turned-filmmaker, Ben Affleck, comes home from work after being with Matt Damon at their production company and discovers that instead of vegging out on the sofa with a Just Eat, he's expected to go as the Cockney stand-up Mickey Flanagan would say, and not just out, but to a ritzy glitzy party with her indoors, his triple A-list wife Jennifer Lopez. She's giving him a Latina 3-line whip, and this has been in your PA's diary for weeks, so he goes along with it, least he can do. It turns out to be the 2023 Grammys. It also turns out she wanted considerably more than his least. She hisses at him to make some sort of effort, assertion of control. His features do not respond in any meaningful way, rejection of an attempt to control him. The world watches. His bored expression becomes a meme, along with his sad expression meme, which has been captured previously after leaving J-Lo's house. His public face is doing the relationship no favours. Lord knows what his private face is like. Now, unsubstantiated rumours abound that she dumped him. So if this is correct, she is disengaged from him, and this happened some months ago, and that she did so for being too grumpy. Cue a collective shudder among all middle-aged men everywhere. She is 53 and living her best life. He is 50 with a resting face like a slapped arse. Is it an age and stage thing? Let me and millions of other women of a certain age have a quick think, writes the journalist. According to the NHS website, the male menopause causes some men to develop physical and emotional symptoms when they reach their late 40s to early 50s. Other symptoms common in men this age are mood swings and irritability. And is this news to anyone? Men, actually. When women hit the menopause, heck, even the perimenopause, they question how they are feeling and behaving. They may see it as a problem to be solved or a hurdle to be negotiated and talk to others. Not blokes. Once they hit the male G-spot, that's it. They embrace it as a fait accompli, and so they don't just get grumpy, they stay grumpy, and if challenged about it, somehow contrive to become even grumpier. For a great many midlife men, tetchy intolerance becomes less of a mood and more of a lifestyle choice that sometimes ends up in the divorce court. When the sitcom One Foot in the Grave aired in the 1990s, making a household name of Victor Meldrew, I was in my 20s and found it crashingly unfunny and incomprehensible, admits a girlfriend of the writer, who is now in her early 50s. Now I realise it was actually a documentary. In truth, it's probably due a 21st century reboot. If only there was someone suitable with a production company a proven track record of both acting and irascibility. Someone should call Ben Affleck, although I doubt it would cheer him up. Now, whilst this is a tongue-in-cheek piece, the suggestion revolves around the fact that Ben Affleck has become grumpy as a fact of the male menopause. It's nothing to do with that. His grumpiness originates out of the fact that when he attended that event, it wasn't about him, and his narcissism caused him to look cheesed off. That offended Jennifer Lopez's need for control over him, resulting in her telling him basically to get his shit together. And it's probably increasingly the case that what has been interpreted as grumpiness on his part is simply his response to his own dissatisfaction with the marriage. Her fuel has become jaded and stale, and the fact that Jennifer Lopez's own devaluing behaviour of him has threatened his need for control, resulting in him looking repeatedly pissed off. It isn't his grumpiness that will have been the trigger for disengagement, as has been effectively suggested by Judith Woods in The Telegraph, but in actual fact, the manifestation of grumpiness is as a consequence of the fact that his control over Jennifer Lopez has repeatedly been threatened, and therefore his reaction to that, which is to devalue her, has ultimately signalled that he's too difficult to control, which therefore has meant that she has had one of her disengagement triggers activated, and therefore she's got rid of him. She didn't ditch him for grumpiness, she ditched him because her narcissism deemed that he was too difficult to control, and therefore it was better to get rid of him. Once again, by understanding narcissism, it enables you to unlock the nature of the dynamic between certain individuals. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.